Red was a character in Star Wars, who do you think he would be? Like, you could make up a character. Do you want to hear mine?
Yes, because I'm thinking.
I got 2 thoughts. I want him to be either the dumbest stormtrooper in the universe, just the biggest dumb sack of shit stormtrooper whom everyone like sees for like 12 seconds and then he never comes back, because I think you would think about him forever. Or I want him to be like a weird species.
I want him to play like a super stupid Imperial officer so you can see his face. And he just is like not able to follow the orders, the directives given by Vader or whoever is in charge at this moment in time. But like they all put up with it because he's so handsome.
Mm-hmm. I think that'd be great.
And you don't even know how he ended up there because he doesn't seem like a bad or evil guy at all.
Yeah,
it just seems like he kind of got lost and like ended up working there and then just stuck around and somehow is ascended to like the pinnacle of the Imperial officers.
He had like a college internship. He thought he was just going to be like in the mailroom.
And Darth Vader's like, why do you even work for me? You don't seem that invested in like taking down the Rebel Alliance. He's like, oh, I don't know, man.
I'm just, when life gives
I'm just
you
here
lemons,
for a good time,
Say fuck the lemons and bail.
I love Paul Rudd.
That man is so sexy.
So,
I guess we're going to talk about Star Wars. Is that what is that what
now that we actually started talking about it's every episode is just like us talking about Paul Rudd and then something leads us back into Star Wars.
We've been recording for an hour and we
had not talked about Star Wars at all. What did we talk about? Literally anything else.
I guess it's only up to us to know. Or our patrons.
For us to know and you guys to find out.
Subscribe to our Patreon and you'll find out.
So Bad Batch has a release date now. May 4th.
May the 4th be with you and also with you.
Happy birthday to me. Actually, it's not till May 21st, but
I was about to say, I was like, I didn't know your birthday was May the 4th.
That would be so cool, but unfortunately I was born on time, so
right.
Get that for me.
Fuck my mom, dude. She sucks.
I mean,
Mom, this sucks. Put me back in.
I mean, I do feel like that every day, but by put me back in, I just mean put me in the ground.
Mm-hmm. Not in the uterus.
But I mean, it ensured that I was a Gemini and therefore have an excuse for all my shitty behavior. So if I had been born May the 4th, that would have kind of screwed that over.
Yeah, they're a Gemini, so do with that information what you will.
I mean, you already know by the pronouns.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 people.
You already know by the pronouns.
Admitting my demonic possession.
That tweet that was anyone who uses pronouns they them are being possessed by a demon.
And I was like, you're not wrong.
I was like, and with me, with the she they situation, it's a girl demon. She's cute. What is this episode about? What are we doing here? The Bad Batch. May the 4th be with you and also with you.
I mean, you guys know kind of how we feel about the Bad Batch. I just I'm excited, obviously, because clone content. But it's like, let's not act like they gave the main clone characters of the Clone Wars their due screen time. They were like, it's actually Anakin and Obi-Wan bickering for 7 seasons with some clones thrown in for flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, why did you guys choose to make this whole new set of characters? Like, no one would have argued with a show that was just focusing on literally any of the other squadrons, any battalion. They're like, who's the Bad Batch? A couple of douchebags. Anyways, they've got their own show coming out. And we're supposed to be stoked about that.
Who's the one I fucking hate? Is it Singer?
Crosshair. It's Crosshair.
Crosshair is fucking annoying. Oh, he's so obnoxious. And he was like a douche to Rex or whatever. I was like,
yeah, and good for Rex for punching him, honestly, because he deserved it.
Yeah.
And where did you even get a toothpick? In this economy?
Yeah, that was douchey. That. And I like the main one. What's his name with the long hair?
Hunter.
That's Hunter? Yeah, he's kind of sexy. The rest of them irritate me.
and it's also just like sucks so bad that like Wrecker, who's like literally got the darkest skin tone out of any of them, they like make into this like stupid animalistic,
Yeah.
like
It's
come on.
it's very
It's
I feel
just,
like it's in poor taste there.
I mean, why is Crosshair white? He's a clone of Jango Fett. What? I mean,
He's fucking annoying.
This doesn't take a degree to figure out. The only way I can get behind it is if they're saying, I mean, I know they like literally state in the Bad Batch episode, they're like, oh, like clones with like, you know, desirable genetic mutations. I'm like, no, the only way I would get behind this is if you were saying that him being white was just like a defect, you know?
Yeah, it's a weird I don't know, it's a weird lead in there.
It's just,
I didn't care for them so much, and they kind of painted them in like this obnoxious light, and so like I don't like, forgive me for not being like super stoked. Like it was
it's just,
fine.
like, how are you going to like give us all these other clones that we've all come to know and love over 7 seasons and then be like, anyways, here's a bunch of assholes that are just talking shit on them and we hope you enjoy. I mean,
Yeah, you couldn't give like, I don't know, give Rex his own show or something. Like it doesn't. It's.
I'm not gonna say like the equivalent of like giving like Palpatine his own show, but like it's not that far off. It's like
it was a minimal plot line, and the only desirable thing was it wasn't it Echo that got
yeah,
got like adopted in by them, and like that's the only like emotional connection that I would have.
I know if Echo had not joined with them, literally no one would give a shit.
Who gives a shit?
I don't know. I am interested in seeing like how they handle the shift from like the Grand Army of the Republic to like the Empire. But it's just, I don't know. Like I don't want to see it through the lens of those characters. The main thing for me is like we might get to see characters that we do care about, which is a perfect segue. Segway.
Which is not how I thought that was spelled, and I don't like it because Segway looks ugly.
I think Segway, the transportation device spelling, is much cuter, to be honest. Yeah. And I will be doing that permanently from here on out.
It's like Segway. And the other one's like Segway. Segwoo. It's fucking ugly. Change it.
Just stop that. This language don't make no sense.
Yeah, that was the most important part of this podcast, so make sure you don't miss that.
Dishing out hot takes on the spelling of Segway. So I've seen a lot of speculation online about Cody showing up in either the Bad Batch or Kenobi. Do you guys think there's any truth to that? Which show would you rather see him pop up in? And how do you think they'd get around to Moira being a bit older if he were to make an appearance live action? Also, do we know what's supposed to be going on with Cody at all during either of these points in his life? I'm sorry if this is a lot of questions all at once. I just think he's neat, and you folks are too.
Oh, thanks, sweetie.
Thank you.
No, we love Cody here. I think it'd be pretty easy to get away with Tamira being a bit older because of that accelerated aging thing. They could just could use it as a throwaway line even.
Yeah, I mean, you see in Rebels, like they're all the clones they've gone gray and are bald. So, except for Wolf, but that's the only ounce of respect that they showed him on Rebels, because otherwise he looks like he's just getting ready to suit up to get on his Harley Davidson armchair and just scoot down the highway with some of his boys. I don't know why they did that to my boy. I really don't. But
oh my god.
Anyways,
no, it's but I think
he will show up in Bad Batch because they already established he's like the connection that the Bad Batch have with like the rest of the Gar. Like Rex doesn't even know who the Bad Batch are. He's never even heard of them. Mm-hmm. Cody is the one that introduces everyone around, and they imply that he's worked with them before. So I don't know why he wouldn't be in it. Actually, I would love for him to be in Kenobi, although I don't think his casting in that has been confirmed.
It could be. I mean, like, I wouldn't put it past them, but I don't like. We also have the barest idea of what the plot actually is. Like, we don't know if we're even going to be seeing Hayden like in just flashbacks or like, you know what I mean, like or it. So I think it very well could. We just don't really have a reference point. I would like to see it. I would definitely like to see it.
I think for Kenobi, like my general assumption was that they would more or less be following the events of Kenobi by John Jackson Miller, who I'm pretty sure I have referred to as Joe now like 17 times. So I'm sorry, sir. I don't know why I kept saying Joe. But with the like reintroduction of Hayden as Anakin, I really don't know like where the Kenobi show is going. I think it's only going to be one season. So, I mean, I think they probably could very easily cover all the events of Kenobi in like a few episodes, and it might progress past that. So it's it's not breaking any sort of canonical timelines or anything.
Right.
Also on Kenobi, that is our book of the month for the full Sabacc book club. If you guys were not already hip to that from our Twitter, all 20 of you following us.
Thanks for that. Thanks,
yeah. 1 million followers and counting. So if you guys have not already secured a copy of that, March is kind of a long month, so you have a while to get on that, but we will be discussing it all month long in our Discord server. You can join that by checking out the link in our bio to our Patreon, because right now it's a subscriber only thing. But then we'll also be sort of like recapping and discussing it on like a special mini episode at the end of the month. So yes. I've already read it, but to be fair, I was reading it at the same time as like 7 other Star Wars books. So I don't know that I really got the full effect of Obi-Wan Kenobi just being so sad on Tatooine. So, if you want to just vibe with that, like let's all cry over Obi-Wan Kenobi together.
Yeah, I gotta get the audiobook because I've been liking putting on audiobooks, especially. Well, I don't commute as much right now, but like on my commute, I like to have something to like listen to, podcasts or audiobooks or whatever. So I think I'm gonna invest in that because like my attention span for reading has been so garbage lately, and
it's also hard to do because you can't do it with anything else. Like I can walk and listen to an audiobook. I cannot walk and read a book. I've tried. It does not go well.
Yeah, it's very, very Hermione energy there. But also speaking of fun mini episodes and guest things, so Elisha is going to be the first special guest on the other podcast that I do, Hottie Hotline. We can drop that link as well. We're doing a Hottie of the Week segment, and Alicia's our Hottie of the Week. So we're going to be interviewing, and it's going to be fun. And we'll probably talk about Star Wars and pegging. Who's to say? So if you want,
and they go hand in hand, as you guys know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to say, being referred to as a Hottie of the Week has just undone years of bullying. So take that,
the
girls in high school.
The very first Hottie of the Week. So
inaugural Hottie.
I hope you got a speech planned.
I'm gonna start working on it right now.
Ask not what hotties can do for you. Ask what you can do for the hotties. John F. Kennedy, 1943.
And what can I do for you?
We can actually stay on topic this episode. It's always my fault, and it's always my fault. Cody, I love you so much. He deserves screen time.
I know that they're going to do something that will make us upset that we ever asked for Cody in the Bad Batch, because that is simply how Dave Filoni operates. But, it's been a year since Clone Wars wrapped, so I'm ready to get hurt again. No questions about it.
Ready to be emotionally manipulated by a cartoon once more.
A cartoon and a man in a cowboy hat.
God damn it.
I hate
that just the way.
On a lighter note, here's just a quick, I always say like, here's just a quick rapid fire type of question, and then we end up talking about it for like 15 years, but
we have ADHD.
It's called having too many opinions about things that don't matter and no opinions on things that do. what is your favorite John Williams score and why is it Across the Stars? Acceptable answers also include Duel of the Fates, Yoda and the Force, or Han and the Princess.
You go
Well,
first.
okay. It's Duel of the Fates, Binary Sunset, and the Imperial March for me personally. What am I forgetting? No, Cantina Band also fucks. But, you know, as far as John Williams, I don't think you can really go wrong. Across the Stars is
Yeah.
like super amazing, but I don't know. It's so hard to pick. I don't know.
I'm so dramatic. I would love to walk down the aisle to Across the Stars when I get married. I really, really would. But my favorites, um, Binary Sunset, Across the Stars, Leia's theme, and Han and the Princess. Anytime I hear Leia's theme, I still get like embarrassing amounts of goosebumps. I don't know what it is. I think
Yeah.
maybe, you associate it from like youth as like a strong, beautiful woman, and you like it resonates with you and you just adore her. And like the score is just so good anyway that anytime they put it in, it just gives me goosebumps. I just love it so much. But
Yeah.
Jewel of the Fates fucks.
Duel of the Fates, oh my god, it goes harder than it had any right to. I think though, like Imperial March in terms of like cultural impact,
Yeah.
like it can't be overstated. I like so a lot of times I would walk home from work when I was working at one of the locations of our store that was like on a university campus, and the marching band would always play the Imperial March.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just I would just get so hyped up every time. Like it just goes so hard. It makes me
Even
want to
if
be
you
evil. I don't know.
Yeah, even if you don't know Star Wars, it's like like you've
It's
heard
like the Jaws theme. Like you've heard it and you like
it's
recognize it.
iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so funny because like I grew up a very big baseball fan and grew up a very big Yankees fan. And there was always this thing about the Yankees being the evil empire because they always won so many championships and stuff. And they would always have like Star Wars theme night like once a season. And I remember I wanted it so bad. It was a bobblehead of a Yankees pitcher, but with Darth Vader's head on and the Yankees uniform and then the cape. And it was fucking sick. And they would play the Imperial March at the games. And it was so sick. And I love it very much. And it's like that's that cultural resonance, I guess.
Yeah. Like if you played Across the Stars, I mean, yeah, like some people would recognize it, but it's not gonna like it's not gonna have that same impact, I think, on
It's a
as big
different
of a group of
emotion.
people. It's just like all the Star Wars people are obviously getting it emotional, but like people that have not given themselves serious Star Wars brain rot might not.
Everyday human people.
I would love to know what that's like
To not be obsessed with something.
to just casually enjoy things. I mean, that's how my boyfriend is, and I've said before, he's been like, I hate how you consume media. Like it's just so stressful and it takes so much effort because you can't just watch something. It's like we watch something and then I have to talk about it for like 2 hours afterwards. I mean, minimum.
Right. I have to go through the IMDb account page.
Yeah, I mean, he'll simply just watch something and then just go about his day. Like,
but I have to know everything about the supporting actress. How can you do this?
I mean, if I watch something that I enjoy before the film has even finished, I'm on Archive of Our Own, being like,
absolutely.
I wonder if anyone's written to fix it for this because I didn't like how that one storyline ended. And then there's like 20,000 other people that have.
Yeah, which is great that we're not the only people on Earth that are like this.
Because let me tell you, I do not have time to write all the fix-its that I want, so I simply just think about them very hard before I go to sleep.
Dude, I do the same thing. And because I was rewatching Twilight recently, and I, in a fit, just said, you know what, there's got to be Charlie Swan X-Raider fanfic. It would be absurd not to. Well, lucky for you, I found a great one. It was 3 parts, and it was like that very cliche of like it hit exactly all the boxes I'd wanted it to. It was like you grew up in your hometown and you still live there, but you're like in your early 20s now, and you've always had a crush on Chief Swan, and then you like become a waitress at the diner, and you have sex with him, and I'm like, oh my god, that is like, I would have written it.
you're reading this like, is this setting feminism back? Maybe. But
I don't
you know
care.
what? In this moment,
In my private browser, does it matter? I don't have any
is
beliefs
there
when the
such a thing
private
as
browser's open.
a private browser? Unless you have ExpressVPN, who sponsored today's episode.
Oh, don't say that because I pay for them. I really want
Okay.
them to sponsor us, so I don't.
Well, I mean, I think I did an excellent segue into that.
A good
sponsorship.
segue.
A great segue into that. I mean, I've got so good at segueing into non-existent sponsorships that, like, by the time we actually get one, I think that I'm actually gonna. It's like when you are able to flirt with someone you're not into, and then when it's someone you're attracted to. I'm talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi and myself. You're just like, so, yeah.
Obi-Wan
You
could
listen to music?
Obi-Wan could literally whip his dick out in front of Ventress, it fully just not give a shit. But then like Satine blinks in his direction, and he's like, "I'm going to piss my pants."
So true.
Do you resonate with that?
Yeah, I mean,
Would you
for
pull
me,
your dick out in front of Ventress?
if I had one, I wouldn't, because I would not want to harass her, but I would metaphorically whip my dick out in front of Ventress.
Absolutely.
I'll let her know I'm down to clown.
I am down for to clown. I am certainly for to clown. Dude, wait, another time.
I mean, I'm already a clown, so I don't really know. Is there anywhere to go from there? This is an interesting question. No name on this one, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. It goes, does the Phantom Menace need to exist? I was thinking about the machete order. I'm still team release order, by the way. And people swear by watching Star Wars by skipping a whole movie. But there's not really much you miss if you take it out other than the existence of Qui-Gon. And honestly, he's kind of the worst anyway, so who cares? Everything important is revisited in Attack of the Clones, and nixing episode 1 makes Anakin and Padme feel less weird since she didn't know him when he was a baby. At the same time, Phantom Menace has the coolest fight scene in all of Star Wars. But thoughts? I do want to... Okay, I know that it does not look this way, but the age difference between Anakin and Padme in episode 1 is only supposed to be 5 years. I agree. That seems like an extreme age difference. And when I was 14, there was no way in hell I would ever have been interested in a 9-year-old.
But she wasn't interested in him like that. Like, it wasn't like that when they were kids. Like, he came back to her, he was like 20. You know, so he was like 19. Yeah, and so they hadn't seen each other in 10 years or so. So like I get it. It is weird if you look at it through the lens of like, you know, they're gonna end up getting married. But
I think there's like no way to make it like non-weird, even knowing that the age difference is nominal. Just because you're like,
it does seem very weird like that. But looking forward, you're like, you didn't watch this kid grow up. You hadn't seen him for a decade. And now he's an adult. So like,
it's so funny too, because it's like he meets her, she's literally the queen of Naboo, and then she becomes a very like important senator, and she's like, oh, so what have you been up to? And he's like, I don't know, becoming more whiny, I guess.
Just a little baby. And Obi-Wan's like, dude, what the fuck?
Obi-Wan is like, I did not put flirting on our curriculum because I did not think it would come up, but now I regret the decision to omit that from the class schedule.
I didn't think he'd ever see a woman. I'll be honest with you. I thought we would just skate through this. I didn't want to give him the talk. I just threw the American Girl, Your Body and You book through his dorm bedroom door, and I was like, fucking take it.
Oh my god.
And but I forgot he can't read.
Out all the pages to make paper pod racers. So
he started shooting spitballs at me. I think it was from that book.
God. But okay, so I'm pro Phantom Menace for Duel of the Fates almost exclusively. I'm now realizing, like, okay, had it been written better, I think that it could have more effectively established a lot of relationships and led to a greater payoff, like later in the later films. But like a lot of those things never really come to fruition. Like the relationship between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon it's more developed in like supplementary materials than it ever is in Phantom Menace. Obi-Wan's dedication to like seeing Qui-Gon's dying wish fulfilled makes a lot more sense after you've read even just like the novelization of the Phantom Menace, I think. Because it's, you know, in the film itself, Qui-Gon doesn't really do much except tell Obi-Wan, like, well, I hope you're ready for your trials because I found a new Padawan, so lose my fucking number, you know?
Right.
Like,
He's like,
and then he
whoa.
dies.
Right.
Like,
So you don't like, obviously it's like heavily implied that like that's like a father to him, but at the same time you don't see much of that like nurturing relationship that would
no.
like lead to him being like, well, I have to honor his dying wish because he raised me and he was this and he was that. Like it's,
Yeah.
very it's like,
Like
okay.
their relationship has more sort of like, it's much more profound. And even like the Jedi Apprentice series, which is literally written for children, like, I mean, I know that Phantom Menace is not a film for adults only, obviously, but it's just, you really don't get a sense of the depth of any of the relationships in that film, I don't think. And even
Yeah.
just as it serving like as an introduction to characters, it's like I don't know, it doesn't really, it spends a lot of time on characters that you really don't need to know that well, like Watto,
Right.
and,
Like, who
and
gives a
not
shit?
really enough on it. George Lucas was like, I simply have to put something incredibly offensive in this movie or I will die, you know?
Yeah. I also think there would have been a way to combine the most important parts of the Phantom Menace with Attack of the Clones. I think it could have been done in flashbacks. I think it could have been done in a like in the beginning of the movie in a 10-year time jump. But again, the introduction between Anakin and Padme is much more profound, knowing you haven't seen them in 10 years, and then like from just saying they just saw each other as babies, and now there's a text on the screen that says 10 years later, and then they meet again. So that I don't know, but like I think most of it could have been within the same movie.
They could have put that scene where he like gives her the carved whatever it's called, Jaipur or something. They could have put that as a flashback, you know?
I agree.
Like, the only other thing Phantom Menace does, I feel like, is it shows the relationship between Anakin and Shmi. So it does have a bigger emotional impact when she's killed in the second film, but also it makes it clear just how easy it could have been for Qui-Gon to just rescue her as well.
It would have been so easy.
Dude, he's obviously not afraid to bend the rules and operate in like this sort of morally gray area for the Jedi, but he's unwilling to do so to save Shmi from slavery. So it's like, yeah, right, he kind of is the worst, actually.
Then, like, you don't think that's gonna fuck up the Padawan you're trying to train? Is like all this 8-year-old child's gonna think about is the fact that like he's away from his mother.
Yeah, and like the other like younglings at the temple, like they've all been raised there from a very young age. Like they do not have any recollection of their parents or their life before that because they were so young.
Right, they were babies. And then Anakin was like
who was 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that's definitely the age where you would have a lot of memories and obviously a very strong bond with your parent.
Especially if that was the only parent you ever had and the only real person you ever spent time with.
There's also in Phantom Menace, I feel like there's like a lot of world building that turns out to have no effect on the story whatsoever.
Yes,
like
so much.
The reference to Anakin having this astronomically high midichlorian count to show how important it was that they take him back to the temple and see that he's properly trained and everything. But they don't
never talk about it again.
But midichlorians are at any point during the prequel trilogy, I'm pretty certain. And I don't think
is it cholesterol?
Dude,
they say nothing.
In The Mandalorian, they refer to M counts, but I'm pretty sure that's like the only other mention of midichlorians that I remember throughout any of the trilogies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they talk about it in the Clone Wars. I don't think they talk about it in Rebels, as far as I remember. Like, it's set up to be this indicator of how strong you are in the Force, but it's really never explained. And the Force is often described in very sort of like spiritual terms, but then they introduce this sort of medical component and then never expand on it.
It could have been such a cool like way to also look into the library of the Jedi Temple, I think, if you ever had anyone ever researching midichlorians, and then and then you got Jocasta in there. She could have had a much more, she could have been like, I know all about midichlorians because I run the library, and Obi-Wan could I don't know. I don't know.
I just feel like, and it could have like introduced like a lot of interesting conflicts. Like, so like in The Mandalorian, like what we're supposed to infer is they're trying to like siphon these midichlorians from Grogu to be used
But
on
what the
other
fuck is a
beings
midichlorian?
to like manufacture the Force essentially. But we don't have any sort of understanding of like how that works. If it is something that you can actually extract from another being, you know, like is it a transferable thing? I just, you know, so that
It don't
really
make no
has always
sense.
annoyed me. The fact that they're talking about the midichlorian count on the little comms that turned out to be like they were like Gillette razors or something like that, it makes it even funnier. But I don't know. It's uh, the Phantom Menace is like basically just an introduction to sort of the major players of the prequels, but it really doesn't serve that much of a narrative function, I guess.
You know what would have been sick is if they did combine the most important parts via flashback of Phantom Menace within Attack of the Clones. Could have made that episode 1. Then we could have had an episode between that and Revenge of the Sith that would have covered I know, the Clone Wars series does that, but could you imagine having a film that covers Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship during the Clone Wars, and then it would have just been all that much more gut-wrenching and profound to have, the final battle on Mustafar. Not to say it wasn't profound, anyway, but like the way that
but I feel like it does feel Revenge of the Sith does feel like the most cohesive of the films to me at this point, because of Clone Wars does a good job of padding out all these moments that we never actually see in the film itself. But that didn't come out until years after the prequel trilogy was completed, and it takes place like immediately after Attack of the Clones, pretty much.
Right.
Well, and not immediately afterwards, but like, Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones don't benefit from like that sort of like additional backstory that Revenge of the Sith does.
Right.
And so I think they both just, I don't know. I do love Attack of the Clones because that has Jango Fett in it.
Yeah.
But like both Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, they're just very like clunky.
You can combine them into one film with young Anakin being flashbacks. Yeah. Theoretically speaking, and I think it would serve a good purpose. And then you have that whole second space of a new second movie to, there's so much shit happening in the Clone Wars. They made it a fucking series out of it. Like I think you could have really, it would have been much less rushed with Anakin and Padme. I think, because like they cut all those scenes with Anakin and Obi-Wan having their little banter, and like, the deleted scene in Revenge of the Sith that's like, oh, beep, boop, is up. Like that whole scene just really fleshed them out more as like.
And that scene is like basically, that's like the vibe that they have in all of Clone Wars.
All of Clone Wars. And it would have been so like, oh, they have like a fraternal relationship. Oh, he's like a father figure, but he's a big brother. And it fleshes that out a lot more, because it wasn't just that, it's never just that Obi-Wan was just his master. He was a big brother. He was a best friend. He was a father. He was everything Anakin never had. He was the good, positive male role model that he never had in his life.
Well, especially...
It's so nuanced. No, please. I'm just saying, it's like, there's so much more to it.
The transition from Attack of the Clones to Revenge of the Sith is also, like, without sort of the context of Clone Wars, you wouldn't really get that they have that good of a relationship if you watch them, like, back to back, because at the end of Attack of the Clones, Anakin is, like, pretty angry with Obi-Wan. I mean...
The whole time.
Not necessarily for things that are Obi-Wan's fault, but, like, they do not have... like a very good or healthy relationship, and their relationship is pretty much in shambles at the end of Attack of the Clones. Like, obviously this is Legends material, but pretty much every book that's written post Attack of the Clones, it's like Obi-Wan had to do a lot of work to try to like connect with Anakin again, because not only was he, grieving his mother, he's also very obviously in this forbidden relationship with Padme, and Obi-Wan has to be the one to basically tell him to break it up. So he's just piling on and piling on. And Obi-Wan is like, I don't even really want to have to tell him to do this, because like if she can provide a comfort for him right now that I'm unable to provide,
Right.
I want that for him, but I'm pretty much going against the entire order by like allowing that.
Exactly. And you don't get to see the most positive aspects of their relationship, because even at the very beginning of Attack of the Clones, you know, Anakin's having that like, oh, I don't know how to talk to women moment, and Obi-Wan's got to be like, you got to learn your place, young one, and he has to like reprimand him in front of other people. So even from the very beginning it starts out like that. It's that like, and then, oh, Anakin's fine doing this mission on his own, but you don't see the the meaty moments, I guess, between them, where it's like where they've bonded so much and where they've trained so much, where
Yeah.
Obi-Wan does feel comfortable leaving Anakin alone on a mission. Because like everything else you see in Attack of the Clones is just like Anakin's like a toddler who needs to be reprimanded, and he's like a teenager and he's grieving a bunch of shit. And you never see Obi-Wan providing that comfort on screen, even though you know he does. And then like with all the supplemental material, you know that they're the best of friends and that's such a dynamic relationship between them. But it's never really built upon in the films. And I think
Yeah.
if you would have had a second, like make Attack of the Clones #1 with Phantom Menace flashbacks, awesome. And you know, then you have that whole second movie of like everything that went on, the ups and downs in their relationship, to that way you could see why, like, you know, from the very get-go when Padme's like, I'm pregnant, we could, you know, Obi-Wan might be able to help us. And he's like, we don't need Obi-Wan's help. And it's like, you'd think that Anakin would want Obi-Wan's help at this point, just knowing what you know. So it's like, why did it come to that? There's a lot
Yeah.
of
I mean,
you could have built upon.
it's like I do feel for like the writers of the Clone Wars, because there was so much stuff that they had to sort of like dance around or like, I don't know, retroactively correct.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't, you know, we all know the writing of the prequel trilogy sucks. Um, there's just so many things that just like don't add up. Like that's the thing that has always bothered me. It's like the same way that they're like, oh, like everyone loved Palpatine so much, and it's like, but why?
Yeah.
Um, like they just sort of like present these things as just like facts with like no evidence, and they're like, oh, like Anakin and Obi-Wan were like this inseparable, you know, amazing team together. Like that's how the
But do
Revenge
we
of the
ever
Sith
see it?
novelization starts out, and you're like, there's like no
Glanced at
evidence
each
for
other.
that, really. I mean, like, yeah, we obviously get they're both very capable and they do care about each other a lot, but they really don't show that much of them interacting, just the two of them.
Yeah,
So
it's maybe you guys should just let us write everything from here on out.
I mean, I do not think that the prequel trilogy would suffer from us doing a rewrite.
I No, not at all. I think it would be very sexy of us, actually. Like, and of course, they're always going to have sentimental value to me, and there's a lot of really valuable aspects of filmmaking that you can take from it, you know, stylistically. But I also just think that the script itself wasn't. George Lucas was always the type to be like, this is how it is in my head. Why aren't you doing it the way it is in my head? But then he wouldn't like give them. And there's interviews with Harrison Ford about this in the behind the scenes one from like 2003 or something. And he's like, George was like, this is the way it is in my head. You got to do it exactly that way. He's like, but he wouldn't give us, he would just be like, do it. You should know what to do. And he's like, so I would just fuck around on set all day.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like and a lot of times too, even the way that it was in his head is probably like not good, you know, like
Yeah.
even if people had done it perfectly exactly how he imagined it. I mean, the whole thing of Star Wars is just like great concept, terrible execution. And it's like, I think that's why I cling to it so much, is because it gets so close to being incredibly good so many times that it tricks you into thinking like, okay, like this could all be this good. And then you just like hyper fixate on all these tiny details. It's like, if just one thing was changed, then like this would be so amazing. And then before you know it, you've written 100 fanfics about said things and just gone into a fucking rabbit hole from which you can never get out of.
Yeah. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
All right, guys, we had a really beefy episode for you. We had like 2 hours of content that we recorded, so we decided to go ahead and split this one up into two pretty sizable episodes for you guys. So this one obviously is out if you're listening to it, and the other half we will be putting out for you next week. So thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time. Bye.